Okay, Brycer, let's go ahead and let's talk about what we're seeing here in this particular series of clips. We're going to kind of hear a lot of what we talked about in the first one, but we're beginning to get a catalog of a very personalized lesson content. And we're going to talk about going through the first three phases. I haven't identified those graphically, but the clips that you see are phase one in the starting stance is the first one, from moving from left to right. The center one is the load, or phase two, and the third clip on the far right is phase three, or the C position. That's when we try to stop your hands in that imaginary line. Now, I would suggest at this point that you follow the diagram that I gave you in the handout, and that should be helpful. Now let's move through and talk about the flaws. We're going to talk about 6 things specifically I'm going to run over. And in the first clip or illustration, moving left to right, far left, is the starting stance, phase one. Now with that, I want you to note that the number 1 in the box is an indication I'd like to see you spread out a little bit more. And in that spread, I'd like to see you get in a 60-40 stance and be comfortable back there. I think you're in a really good position. You're upright. You can use a slight tilt in to keep the weight off the heels. You take the upper torso and move it in, what I call about a 2-inch torso tilt. That helps keep the heels, the weight off the heels, and big guys sometimes get a little slouchy and set that weight back on those heels. That'll help you with the upper torso tilt. But the 60-40 position actually has the, as we got people coming in, 60-40 has the weight back and your front foot out a little bit more. Now moving over to the middle illustration, you can see that this is not the load we want. We're back in that point where we got to do the top of the bat on the helmet drill. The yellow arrow is an indication to where you want to take the hands in that process and not dropping them down. So point number 2 would be straight back, and I'm going to give you a link to show you that example when I send this over. In number 3, you can see that you've not only begun to move forward with your stride, almost in that bow-legged look, as you can see, but you've also begun the process of opening up as you went forward, and you're out of that toe-to-toe. You're crossing over that toe-to-toe line. The yellow line is kind of where you want to keep that front side foot, and as you're doing that, you're also opening up. So we want to try to keep the toe-to-toe position. Again, reference the illustration in the diagram and some of the stuff I'm going to be sending over. Now, in the actual third frame or third illustration to the far right, there are 3 things I want to focus on, and I think I saw you do a little bit better today when your dad was working with you. But in number 4, you can see the end result of what happens in the middle illustration, or the phase 2. The bat head obviously enters the C position as indicated by the red line. You're actually now have the barrel below the hands, which is not what we want. And of course, in the issue number 5 with the yellow circle and with the arrow, the shoestrings at this point need to be pointed forward to the pitcher, and we don't have that backside pivot tied to the hands. And so we've got a little bit of an issue there. So 4 and 5, of course, are related. It's all about how we get that bat head into the contact zone at this point. Conversely, this bat head, if I draw the line here, this is where the bat head should actually be, with this little yellow line that I'm including on the video here, right about there. That's what it should look like. But we've got that red arrow, and we're going to get that straightened out once we get the spread a little bit and get that first movement and that load properly flowing. And then illustration 6 is related to a line that I've drawn from phase 1 across each of the 3 illustrations. And it starts at your eye level in your starting stance. And as you can see how far you drop, it is an amazing drop, almost 8 to 9 inches of a drop from the time you go from the starting stance into the phase 3 position, which is going to make you highly susceptible to the ball up in the zone, in addition to already having a challenging situation with the bat head being there. So as we're dropping, you can see that white line as you move across the illustrations, you've dropped considerably. So we'll continue to work on that, and let's get through those drills, and let's see how we do in the next video.